Well, all right. Welcome to Freedom Hack. 3 keys to break free from fear. 3 keys to freedom. And by doing so, you will earn more, love more, and ultimately be more, which is what it is that we're searching for, isn't it? The more free we are to be ourselves, the more free we are to express ourselves, the more authentically we can communicate and then connect with more people, which will then ultimately support us to grow our business, grow our relationships, and be more fulfilled. Now, why is this important? Well, things are getting crazy these days. I don't know about you, but this pandemic and all the craziness is having a profound impacts as it's been happening and as we've had to pivot and deal with all sorts of stressors. Not only that, there's been crazy people doing crazy things. Whether or not you agree with any of this, the truth is it is happening and it does have profound impact on every area of our life. Due to the fact that everyone seems to have to pick a side. We're nowhere is we allowed to just have our own opinion. It has to fall in a box, and that is having, again, profound impact on our businesses. We're having incredible challenges in our economy, and who is responsible for your economy? You are. So as soon as we start playing this game and getting sucked into this drama, the sooner we start falling backwards, getting sucked into the challenges. And of course, if you like to travel, if your business is traveling, all sorts of new stressors are at hand. Are we wearing a mask, not wearing a mask? Who could wear a mask? Who's not wearing a mask? Is it on your nose? Is it not on your nose? All of these challenges wreak havoc. And is this our new normal? I hate that term, new normal. We just are having ebbs and flows of life. And the challenge is that if we allow all of this to start getting in the way, that is going to impede our ability to serve, to lead, and ultimately to serve our clients and make more money, to serve our family, to be incredible leaders, right? But wait, there's more. Now we have all these new challenges. Crime is up. There's new plagues going on. Also, we got variants. We have all this stuff, and oh, it just gets too much, doesn't it? So, why is this important? Well, we got to set a context through which we have this conversation. If all of that has become a new normal, how possibly can we be effective at becoming the best versions of ourselves? So, my mission here with this conversation is to help you find your authentic self. Why is that important? Well, you are on a mission as well. You are here to serve your family, to serve your community, to serve your clients, right? You have a mission, and I want to support you on it. And ultimately, awaken that warrior within and retire that worrier. The truth is, we can either be a warrior or a worrier. We're either a victor or a victim. And these are choices that we made. And in order to succeed in life, we must live courageously. And now, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Isn't that true? Think about it. Anytime that you've been successful in any area of your life, you had some resistance. You had something pushing you maybe back, giving you some obstacles, and maybe you did sense some trepidation, some fear, because I know you are successful. You don't feel fear. You feel stress, don't you? So we need to live courageously. We could still feel the fear, feel the stress, and act anyway, do it anyway. So right now you are in the right place. If you are stressed, maybe you're stressed to the max. Maybe you found yourself getting overwhelmed with all these challenges, overwhelmed with the conversations, the drama. Maybe it's not you, of course, but it's family members or friends or business associates that seem to potentially have been sucked into the drama. Perhaps you've been self-medicating with distractions of all sorts. What does that mean? That doesn't mean when we hear the term self-medicating that it's just alcohol or drugs. It could be the internet. It could be television, food. Sadly, for some, maybe porn. There could be a whole bunch of things that are sucking us out of the game that we need to be aware of. Maybe tensions are rising in the house. Maybe it's creating some stress that, unfortunately, maybe we've gotten a little too used to because it's been going on for so long. So it's time to step up. Maybe you've gotten to the point where you're concerned you can't provide for your family the way you used to, or worse, your legacy is being challenged. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want people to talk about these times? Do you want to talk them saying how we fell prey, how we were victimized by these challenges, or how you stepped up as a leader, victoriously making a difference, transforming all of these challenges? And you're looking for answers. You're in the right place. You are looking in the right place if you realize things must change and you are ready to change them. This is about leadership. This is about taking personal responsibility of our situation, of our lives, of our business, of how we show up with our families, with our associates, and beyond. This is servant leadership. So in this training today, you're going to learn how to have emotional and psychological freedom, which, by the way, will create the financial freedom. Now, we all want that financial freedom. And the truth is, I know no one wants to hear it. And this is like anti-marketing right now. The truth is without the emotional and psychological and spiritual freedom, you will never create the kind of financial freedom that you deserve, that you desire, and that you're destined for if we stay stuck in stress, stuck in fear, stuck in anxiety, stuck in depression. We're going to talk about how emotional resourcefulness leads to success. Now, as a master practitioner and trainer of neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, there's a lot of presuppositions around resources and resourcefulness. And it's not about resources. It's really about being resourceful. And we're going to give you specific actionable tools that you can apply now to create the life that you desire. And we'll uncover and unpack a little bit the science of fear. Like, why does it exist and how does it exist? So let's talk about it for a moment. What is fear? Now, there's a few acronyms that we've heard, right? False evidence appearing real, or F everything and run, or face everything and rise. It's a choice, isn't it? But what are you afraid of? Do you have that fear of failure, right? Or, now some people go, I don't have the fear of failure. Well, they may be having that fear of failure, or it's reframed as a fear of success. And how do you know you may have a fear of success? As well, if you find yourself sabotaging yourself. Now, you may say, I don't sabotage yourself. And yet, if you're not where you want to be, the only person responsible for you not being where you want to be is yourself. So other than consciously, there has been sabotage. Maybe you're fearful of being rejected. Maybe you're worried about getting found out, right? That's called imposter syndrome. Maybe there's some fears that you think it's going to be too hard, or, the technology, we hear this about technology or challenge, we get overwhelmed, or we may say that, it's too complicated. Like, that's not me. I'm not a tech person. I'm not an admin person. I'm not all that. Or you're just drowning in information, searching for wisdom, and you don't know where to start. These are all real challenges. And again, maybe it's not fear. Maybe it's simply stress. So why now? Well, if you don't take control of this, you run the risk of losing everything. You run the risk of losing your family, your finances, and ultimately your self-respect. Again, that legacy conversation. How do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be celebrated, or do you want to be pitied? Do you want that story, the rocking chair story, to be full of, I wish I woulda. You know what I should have done? These are choices, right? Maybe your family is looking for you to lead right now. And here's the truth. If you lose it, they will lose it. You are teaching, you are training your family and your friends how to treat you. You're showing them how you experience challenge, how you overcome them. What do? Do you step up or do you fall back? Do you become a victim or a victor? Are you a worrier or are you a warrior? These are choices. And those that see the opportunity now will succeed. If you don't manage your state now, though, you'll miss every opportunity and will be lost forever. As a real estate investor, I look back at many times that opportunity was everywhere. And oh my gosh, I was afraid to take action. And I look back and I go, oh my gosh, if I had purchased that real estate back then, I would be so much further along in my career. And I look back, why didn't I do it? Maybe it wasn't fear. Maybe it was stress. Maybe I didn't know where to start. Maybe I was thinking it was too complicated. It was too hard. I didn't have the money. I came up with all sorts of reasons why I couldn't do it. Now, ultimately, you may be asking, who is this Doug guy and why should I listen to you? So this isn't a self-aggrandizing conversation. It's just an opportunity not to impress you, but to impress upon you what is possible. So high level, I've been through multiple careers. I've had to pivot, as we've heard. And my first career was in music. There I am with Dee Snider. I was an engineer, producer, and artist working on multiple Grammy-winning records. There I am with Les Brown. I spoke with him. Tony Robbins, my personal mentor. I worked with him for many years. And I also have an incredible family. Here is my wife, Heidi, who is more talented, more brilliant, funnier, and way better looking than I am. And yet here we are working together. And there she is with Tony as well, where we've been so blessed. So I just didn't wake up though one day and started working with Tony Robbins. I wasn't like, oh, hey, I'll just go get a job with Tony. Like I'll go on the road with him and tour the country as a national speaker. That's not how that works, right? I had to overcome multiple challenges. Growing up, I always felt like an outcast, right? I was called a dirtbag, a stoner, a loser, that I was worthless, that I'd never amount to anything. I remember basically feeling like a misfit on the island of misfit kids. If you remember Misfit Toys, if you remember Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that was the island. And I didn't even fit in with the people I fit in with. I still, to this day, sometimes wonder how I made it. Because I was pissed. I was depressed. I ran this crazy 8. I was either pissed off or depressed. And I love people. So the truth is, I never got into fights with people so much. But I did get into fights with furniture and the walls in my house. True story. Every single wall in the house that I grew up in had holes in it from me punching them. Every door had been replaced because I had kicked them through. And I don't know about you if you've ever felt that way, but growing up, maybe that's normal, but I just felt like I didn't fit in. And yet at the same time, I knew that I was destined for something. Les Brown would say, I see greatness in you, right? And I think we don't all admit it, but we all, when we connect to our higher power, to that divine intelligence, to God, whatever language you choose to use for that otherness that is too big to comprehend and explain, too complicated for us to truly understand, but we know there's something there, that everyone has greatness in them. You have greatness in you. But sometimes we can't see it because we're too busy being pissed. We're too busy being depressed or full of anxiety. All right, but I found out about Tony Robbins, and that set me on this new path. It's interesting. We spend the first half of our life trying to fit in. The second half of our life trying to stand out, to be unique, to especially if you're in business, what separates us from other people and so forth. And then that third part of our life, if we're going in that direction, that last tiny bit is, at the end of the day, no one really cared, right? It was more about them anyway. So We'll get on with that later. But truth is that when I learned about Tony, I was able to really start owning myself. And I remember coming home one night, I was kind of drunk. I was like 17 years old. And I was like, Mom, give me your credit card. She's like, why? I said, well, I could use Tony Robbins guy. I would like to cut it like 30 days to personal power. And she's like, oh, we've got that, honey. I was like, we do? She's like, yeah, it's down in the den. I go downstairs, there it is, still sealed. And I'll date myself. They were cassettes. But what I did was I started listening to it and applying it to my life. And really what I did, I created, I invented, I constructed, I designed who I am today. And you can too. So what did I do? From taking that information, I created this incredible life in music. Just high level, I played in a celebrity golf tournament with Alice Cooper, and there I am singing with Alice, and that's Little Steven, Bobby Dahl, Tico Torres. Where is he? He's not. Oh yeah, go Tico and Nico McBrain. Tico Torres from Bon Jovi, Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden. There I am with Nile Rodgers. There's D again. That's Sebastian Bach and Tony Harnell. This is Hanson. Remember Mbop. And then this was the band I was in called Fat. And then I was also a producer. These are all A-list country musicians. These guys were incredible. So this was like amazing. Here I am. I've created this incredible life. I am now working on these multiple Grammy winning records. I used what Tony taught me and I applied it. And you can too, by the way. And then I had all this incredible success. Look at all of this, right? And then it was going great until it wasn't.
On a scale of 1 to 5, would you give yourself a 5 on achieving what you want in life? If your answer is anything less than a 5, right now, I have something awesome for you. Achieving your goals and living your life at a 5 isn't easy. Most people aren't prepared to focus, stay disciplined, and do the everyday work that is necessary to achieve amazing results. But since you're watching this, then I'm guessing that you're not one of those people. And this is an opportunity that will change your life. Give to Get is a global program that brings together world-class coaching and combines it with empowering masterminds and networking opportunities. We provide 5-star guidance for the price of a cup of coffee a day. To find out more, click on the link in the description of this coaching session.
I'm going to date myself a little bit here. So the peak of my career was when Napster came out. So if you know what Napster was the peer-to-peer software that allowed music and anything digital to be shared. So iPods became these little devices where you could listen to digital music, and instead of having to carry around a Walkman, whether it be a cassette or a CD Walkman, you could have an iPod that would have hundreds, if not thousands of songs on it, and the music was the fuel to feed the iPods and this peer-to-peer. So tech changed everything. Not only did it change how music was distributed, it also changed how music was made. You didn't need these big studios anymore. I was a dinosaur almost overnight. Now, we didn't have the terms that are being overused now, like disruptors. Like, we didn't have that industry was disrupted. We had, what the F is going on? Like, what are we going to do? Record companies are closing, studios are closing, people are losing their gigs, people are leaving the music industry, they're going into other forms of business, they're starting new careers. And I, too, had to start over. I had to start over. I had to reinvent myself. And here's what's interesting. There have been studies that showed, I don't know about you, but like my dad, like he pretty much, his path was, okay, you go to school, you get a good job, you get a corporate job, you work your way up, you got your 401k or whatever you're going to have there. You work till you retire, and then you retire. And even he was disrupted, and that's a story for another day, but he had to reinvent himself as well. So the old paradigm of get a job, keep the job, then retire ended years and years ago. So how did I do all this? How did I reinvent myself? Well, this program that I have called Freedom Hack is the byproduct. So by doing what I share in Freedom Hack, what I'm going to share with you today, I was able to reinvent myself. I became a national trainer for Tony Robbins, which some of you may know, the guy with the big teeth. All right. I became an international speaker. I started traveling the world, speaking and challenging people to access their greatness within. And then I also became the man to attract and keep. This is an important distinction. There's another conversation for another time. Maybe we'll talk about that in Life Mastery. Step one, become the man or woman to attract the man or woman of your dreams. Step two, be that person who keeps that relationship. Two different strategies, like money. Step one, earn money. Step two, keep money, invest money. So just because you earn it, there's a different strategy once you earn it. There's a different strategy to who you become and then how you maintain it, right? Like think of exercise. You want to lose weight, that's strategy number one. Strategy number two is how do you keep it off? You want to gain muscle. Well, you have to adjust once you hit certain stages, certain plateaus, certain experiences, you have to adjust. So you need to be aware. So here is the woman of my dreams that I was able to attract and keep. See, I told you she was better looking than me. We have this beautiful little girl, Elevie Rain, and she's now 7 or 6. And here we are, we work together. We hold events, we have this company together, and we couldn't be more blessed. And I'm not saying this to impress you and go, hey, look how hot my wife is. Look at my trophy. It's to show you what's possible. Look at this mug. I don't deserve this. I must have done something incredible in a past life, or I'm due to something super, super amazing that I'm able to have this incredible, blessed life that I have now. And then I started teaching all of this. So I was recruited to a nationally known drug and alcohol treatment center where my wife and I with Heidi, we brought personal development to a treatment center. Now, why am I sharing all this with you? Well, I was able to write this book, Under Construction, Navigating the Detours on the Road to Recovery. And I was speaking nationally on addiction and recovery to help docs get their CEUs and so forth. Now, why is this important? Well, what we learned working in that sector is that people who struggle with drugs and alcohol are no different than anybody else. The only difference is when they got addicted to drugs or alcohol to manage their lives, to manage their emotions and so forth, challenge is that could take you out. You can die from it. You can't die necessarily from shopping or a sex, well, you could, I guess, die from a sex addiction or something like that, but it takes longer, right? But you could overdose and die on drugs or alcohol. And what we learned was drugs and alcohol are not the problem, they are the solution. So if you remember the first slides that we were showing about how crazy life is, everybody is finding some strategy to deal with the stresses that all of that creates. And those mindsets, those experiences, we need to look at, because those are the things, although they could be really minor, really tiny, they could take us out of the game. And I'll give you a great example. You're familiar with the Olympics, I presume. So let's imagine you've got the 100-yard dash. So the person who gets the gold medal was the fastest person, right? And what do you get when you win the gold? Well, you win everything, don't you? You win the fame, the fortune, you get to be on the Wheaties, dating myself, right? You get to have all of these incredible things. You get the endorsements, you get everything. Now, when you get it second place, that's silver. Now you get to stand up there, you get a medal, you get something to take home, you get your picture up there, right? And you get to feel the roar of the crowd, right? But you lost by, let's say, 100th of a second. Second fastest person on the planet. Third place, you get bronze, still nothing to sneeze at, right? You're up there, you get the medal, you're up there, you get to feel the roar of the crowds, you get the pictures, you get all of that, and you lost by 200ths of a second. What do you get for fourth place? That's right, nothing. You just get to say you were there, and yet you were the fourth fastest person on the planet. You still get nothing. Now, why is this important? In life, you and I, what we're going to talk about coming up is the 2 millimeters, the hundredths of a second difference that separates us. So it could be tiny little things, but that's the difference that makes the difference. That's the difference between being outstanding to taking on the world, to taking your business to the next level, and then just 300ths of a second below that, you may get nothing. So that's why this conversation is probably one of the most important conversations you could ever have. So enough about me. Let's talk about you. As I shared, I get it. I know you wouldn't be watching this still if you already didn't know that you had greatness within you. You have more to offer. You know that, right? You want to be like, you know that the person inside you is about to come out. You want to be able to be that person you are meant to be. And for no fault of your own, you may feel that that's been ripped from you. So let's imagine that perhaps you had a business that was going really well, and then, I don't know, something that we could all agree on, COVID happened. A thing happened. Now, that you could go down any conspiracy theory you want about it's real or not real or whatever. The fact is, it still is impacting the world. We can all, it's one of the few things that we could all know that we've been impacted by. So while this is about personal responsibility, we could, though, I know you didn't cause COVID to happen, so you could be feeling like, holy crap, this has been ripped from me. I know for me, I had multiple businesses en route to be, I'm a speaker, a live speaker. I hold events, I hold breakthroughs. Like, my magic is in front of people on stage. And guess what? Every gig that I had for at least a year was canceled. I didn't do anything, right? But there's a choice. Do I play the victim or the victor? So you're ready to tap into your full potential. You're ready. You're like, enough's enough, man. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? And you are a leader willing to be responsible for your life. And you must step up now, that you are no longer willing to wait, that you're ready to take massive action to start getting massive results. So let's talk about this for a moment. So where does this fear live? Where does it live? Well, right here, these two little dots right here, they're about the size of an almond. This is called the amygdala in our brain, and it is responsible for, it doesn't think, it just feels, and it is responsible for protection. It's the fight, flight, or freeze. That's where that comes from. These two little things right here, about the size of an almond. And what does it serve? Well, our brain is naturally wired for non-pain. What does that mean? Our pain sensors outnumber our pleasure sensors by the ratio of 10 to 1. So we are 10 times more aware of what possible potential pains we could experience, both physical and emotional, than we are the pleasure we're going to seek. So what does that serve? It serves to protect us from being hurt, from being pain, as part of our reptilian survival mechanism. But here's what's behind the fear. Here's the fear behind the fear. And this is instructive because, yes, no one wants to get pain, hurt painfully. But this emotional pain, here's really what it is. It's a fear that I'm not enough. The fear of failure really is the fear of not being enough. And what's behind that? And when I say not enough, not funny enough, not successful enough, not good looking enough, not creative enough, not courageous enough, whatever this boils down to, there's this enoughness, this worthiness behind it. And what's behind that is, if I'm not enough, if I'm not funny enough, clever enough, good looking enough, tall enough, short enough, successful enough, courageous enough, then I won't be loved. That's what's behind it all. Think about everything that we do. We do it to prove that we're worthy of love or connection. And we'll talk about that in Life Mastery, about those 6 needs that we have that keep us moving, how to be fulfilled. But at the end of the day, we all crave and need acceptance, that community, that ultimate love. And you think about it, why are you building your business? So that you could impress your loved ones, so you could take care of your family, take care of your kids, to show that you are loved. So where does it show up? Well, it shows up in our relationships, doesn't it? If we're not feeling enough, are we going to show up at our highest potential to our loved ones? Are we even going to find a relationship? Do we settle in a relationship because we feel like, well, if I if I was better looking, maybe I'd have a different spouse, or if I was more successful, then I'd have, right? So it all shows up there. In business, it shows up. Are you confident? Do you believe that you can add value to that? Or how do you present yourself? How do you show up? Do you have that certainty and confidence when you show up to a business meeting, to close a deal, to offer to make an offer? If you're having fear, what kind of results are you going to get? And we'll talk about that. It affects our health. Science has proven, we know this, that stress depletes our immune system. So if we're feeling stressed out, if we're feeling full of fear, if we're feeling not worthy, what do? Our body's our temple. If we don't feel like we're worthy, well, we're stuffing Oreos in we're eating them by the tray instead of just having an Oreo knowing when to stop. It obviously affects our wealth. It affects our opportunities. An opportunity could come along, and if we're not feeling worthy, if we're not feeling confident, if we don't feel we deserve this opportunity, we may just pass it up and give it to someone else who we think may be more worthy. And most importantly, it affects our spirit. And if we're not connected to our higher power, if we're not fully embracing our divinity, our divine connection, it's going to affect our worth in ways that we can't even fathom. So, how does this philosophy work? Well, this conversation here is this: all behavior is belief driven. Behind every behavior, there is a belief, and it's fueled by our emotions. So think of our emotions as that fuel, and we're going to dive into that. So here's what we're going to talk about. The most important thing we can manage is our emotional state and what we believe. Now, we're not going to be able to cover everything in this. This is in the Freedom Hack program. We're going to give you the high level and some actionable steps right away. We just can't unpack the whole thing. By now, you've already figured out this is pretty complex. So we're going to address the 3 pillars of transformation and our beliefs, and how mastering these are going to transform every area of our life. So the 3 pillars of transformation. Number 1 is our state. Right? Our emotional state. So when we say state, sometimes you hear a state of rage, a state of love, a state. So just think in those terms, not, New Jersey. Then strategies, right? What is your plan? That's the second pillar. What is your plan? What are the activities strategically to experience life? And then ultimately our story. And that's the narrative. So these icons are just to remember: the state, these 3 pillars, we're going to talk about that. Our strategy, that's our goal, that's where we're headed for. And then our story, the narrative. So let's start with pillar number 1, state. So let's think of this. Let's look at this in practice. We have whatever state we're in. So think of some states you may experience often. Whatever that state is, just think about it. Right? And then through that filter, through that state, we make decisions about life. Those decisions are what things mean, what I need to do, what do I believe? These are all filters that go through, but they fold in on itself and they create a psycho-cybernetic loop in here. And again, we can't dive too deep into that, but imagine for a moment how your emotions impact your decisions and beliefs, which of course then influences our actions, or in other words, behaviors, which will then in turn create and define our results. So let's think about it. Let's name a few states. What are some emotions? Just think about it out loud. And here are a few that can come in. These are different states. And this isn't we're not getting into the difference between emotions and feelings and all of that. Let's just go high level right now and recognize that these all exist on some level. So we have sadness and fear, joy, happy, anger, depression, bliss, confused, guilty, peace, resignation, calm, frustration, bitterness, anxiety, love, irate, shame, grateful, humor, irritated, silly, curious, creative, confident, rage, and regret. Now, these are just a few, of course, but let's imagine right now, if you could have any car in the world, money was no object. What gas powered, by the way, gas powered. We all want a Tesla, I get it. But we need to think gas powered for this model. So here's a Lamborghini. Look at that beautiful vehicle. That is a piece of art right there. Now, let's imagine you had this incredible vehicle and it was time to get some petrol. And you had a choice. You had a gas station that was close or one that was a little bit further away. But here's the close one. It is this dank old leaded like 30-year-old gas tank here. Look at that. Would you put, and oh, by the way, it has a nice fresh market coming out of someone's car and Steve's alternative thrift shop and consignment store. Would you put this gas in your supercar? And the answer for most is absolutely not. And why wouldn't you? Because you know what would happen if you put the crap gas in your supercar. So let's talk about that. That is like putting bad fuel in your supercar. So bad fuel would be fear, anger, anxiety, despair, frustration, resignation, depression, guilt, bitterness, shame. All of these emotions that, oh, by the way, could be showing up quite often when we're dealing with the issues. If you remember the first slide that we started talking about how effed up things are right now, we could get sucked into negative states. Now, let's see this in practice. Let's imagine that you were feeling anger or frustrated or full of anxiety, trepidation, or stress. Well, what decisions might you make from that state? Well, one might argue some pretty negative ones, wouldn't you? And then what kind of actions do you take? Well, that's how you, again, we're talking about sometimes 0.03 of a second, but that could be the time where you eat that one extra Oreo, you have that one extra drink, you don't make that extra call, or you make that call, but you don't do it with certainty and confidence. You take that, but it's run through this bad thing, which then gets you your crap results, which then will reinforce these limiting beliefs, which then sets off this whole pattern in motion, get that psychocybernetic loop going, and then crash and burn. Think about that. That's probably happened in our lives, whether we realized it or not. Now, let's think in other terms. Imagine you fueled yourself with confidence or gratitude, curiosity, certainty, love, humor, courage, and peace. Any combination. If you want to make a cocktail, make a emotional cocktail out of this. And let's think about this. Let's put our model in practice. Let's imagine you are full of confidence, certainty, love, gratitude. Opportunity is everywhere. What decisions might you make about what opportunities you have in front of you? Would you push a little bit harder? Would you stand a little bit stronger? Would you make those offers with a little more confidence because you have more belief in yourself that it doesn't mean the glass is half empty, the glass is half full, there's nothing but opportunities. You take massive actions with that mindset and then you get extraordinary results. And then you are a superhero. This is your true identity. So then the kinds of results that you have, which then reinforce themselves, are all this amazing vision that you have for yourself. Maybe it is having the gorgeous house. Maybe it is doing the travel. Maybe it's just celebrating every moment, having that family. All of this is at your fingertips when you access your true power. Next, pillar number 2, and that's the strategy. Now, think about it. What is a strategy? Well, this is from the dictionary. It's a plan, a method, or series of maneuvers or stratagems. Now, I'm not sure you can use a definition and still use strategy in it. So I guess a stratagem, if we took that out, we could just say maneuvers for obtaining a specific goal or result. So since we are wired for non-pain, right? Since our pleasure sensors outnumber our pain sensors outnumber our pleasure sensors by 10 to 1, that means that our brain is naturally, it's other than consciously looking for strategies to alleviate or avoid pain. Everything it's doing, the amygdala is activated and it's going, avoid the pain, even if the pain is not as much fun. if that makes sense, right? Sometimes we will go, well, I don't want to do that because it's not as much fun as doing the other. It's not that it's not painful. It's just painful compared to the fun you may or may not be having. But at the end of the day, stress is pain. Our brains don't know the difference. Stress is pain. Now, it could be low-level pain, but it's enough for us to want a way to alleviate it. So here are some strategies that you and I have been guilty of doing. By the way, the internet and social media and so forth is now in the DSM-5, which is the diagnostics tool for addiction. It is a treatable addiction. We get sucked into TV. How many have done this? You've binged watched something on Netflix or something like that, or you get sucked into the news. Why? Because there's tons of drama. You get tons of dopamine rushes from watching the news and arg, right? Or comfort food. And there's actual science behind this, that there are increases of dopamine when we consume food, when we have sex, when we consume alcohol, and they all start going up. And our brain goes, that works. Maybe reading. Alcohol, some people might meditate or exercise, writing, gambling, gaming. All of these are strategies that you and I have available to us all the time and more. These are just a few to alleviate stress, to distract ourselves from stress, from the pain of that. And then the question becomes, are they supporting you? And this isn't a judgment. It's not. I'm not condemning. It's just a question. Whatever strategies you're using to alleviate stress, are they supporting you? And we need to be willing to question whether they are or not. Are they taking you closer or further away from your goals? Are you finding yourself getting distracted by squirrel, distracted by the internet, because you're working on the internet? Oh, let me just check Facebook. Let me just check Twitter. Let me just check whatever. And then all of a sudden you're going down that rabbit hole and an hour goes by when you could have been more productive. It's just a question. And ask this. Now, by the way, these are some of the strategies to start, actionable strategies right now to start delivering results. First one we talked about state was, what states are you in? And in the program in Freedom Hack, if you're interested, we dive deep into how we do our emotions, how to be a master of our emotions so that we can put ourselves in a resourceful state at will so that we could get those results, so that we could ask these better questions, right? You want better answers? Ask better questions. So here's some actionable items right here. Ask yourself, are your strategies taking you further or closer to your goals? And are you doing it for the short-term benefit at the cost of long-term gain? If you're thinking of investment strategies, everyone would love to win lotto. Look, if I don't win lotto, my plans are ruined. But the truth is that all of this is going to take some time. So we can do some things that will short-term feel good, but will slow us down from our long-term gains. And then our last pillar is story, right? This is the story that we tell ourselves, a story that we are writing right now. And if you think about it, at the end of our days, we're just going to have a collection of stories, aren't we? And it's going to be the story of a warrior or a worrier, the story of a victor or a victim. Because here's the deal, gang. You are the author. You're writing it. You are penning your story right now, and you've been telling your story right now. The only thing stopping you from having what you want in your life is the story you tell yourselves and others as to why you don't have it. But you're not only the author, you're also the lead character. You're the director, you're the producer. You're the casting agent. You decide who else is in your story. You're the marketer. You're the one going around seeing who's going to buy your BS. And also, by the way, you are the narrator, aren't you? So here's a question. How does your story, when you tell it, make you feel? Does it anger you? Does it depress you? Are you proud to tell this story? Are you telling this story to inspire others or be a warning? And we see this showing up in all areas of our life, don't we? We don't realize that sometimes people will tell their story to make us feel better, right? Oh, you think that's bad? And then they tell you their horror story. I remember when I first started getting into investing, and I told my mom, I was like, oh yeah, we were buying our first investment property. And she's like, oh, yeah, I remember. You remember we had that investment property, and oh man, they tore it up, and we had to pay for new floors, and oh, it's just such a nightmare. Oh man, it's just such a oh god, it was such a pain in the ass. But good luck with that. Sometimes we buy into other people's stories, and again, 3/300th of a second here. My mother could have told me that story, right? If it's not one thing, it's my mother. My mother could have shared that story, and it could have made me feel bad, not feel confident in my decision to invest in real estate, because she was telling me her story as to her experience with real estate, which, without getting into the whole details, but think about it. Look what state came up for her and what strategy she used. Right? She sold the place. She didn't want to do it anymore, and she never bought another property. So there was a strategy for her to avoid pain. And yet, when you talk to really successful people and you find out about them, you'll find out that the really successful investors tell a different story. Why? Because they keep themselves in a more resourceful state, and they implement more effective strategies because they manage their state. They were consciously choosing strategies so that they could consciously write their story, their epic warrior's journey. You're either writing yourself in as a warning or an example. You choose. And if you choose not to write a story, that's the story that you've written or are writing. So be careful. You can't not write your story. And if you don't write it yourself, you are allowing someone else write it for you, and yet that still becomes your story. So the question becomes, right now, are you ready to write a new chapter? You are on and writing your hero's journey, your warrior's journey. And if you think about, this is how we learn and grow, is through story, through movies, through books. And I'm going to go with a little tangent right now. You want to improve your thinking? Consciously write, journal, write stuff down. When you're writing, you are actually sharpening your thinking. Your story writing capability improves when you actually write, when you put pen to paper. Consciously write your story. Now is the time to recognize that we are in the battle of our lives. I'm not going to go down too much of a spiritual path right now, but all this craziness that's going on, it ain't going anywhere. Think about it. Think about the stories your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents used to tell about how everything's getting faster and getting worse and all of that. Are you seeing a pattern? It never changes. So your choice is, how are you going to step up? How are you going to write your story? Because are there people who are succeeding in this market? Are there people who are still, no matter all the craziness that's going on, are they still having a blessed and joyous life? Do they have challenges? To be sure. They're able to just navigate their way around them, through them, and above them, however you want to do it, so that they can create that incredible life. So now is the time to step up and take control as your hero. Consciously write your story. So, high level here, here's what we covered. We talked about the 3 pillars of transformation. We have our state, our strategy, and our story. So, some other tips as you move forward in this. Number 1, know your desired outcome. Do you want to have more freedom in every way? This is a choice. I can't stress this more, possibly. This is a choice. If we allow someone else to write our story, if we get sucked into the paradigm of being run by fear, by our own fear, and oh, by the way, think about it, that's all marketing is creating a fear state so that you use whatever product, whatever solution that's available. Be careful what choices we make because it may be taking away our freedom. Do you want to be the exemplar of possibility in your family? Think in those terms. How are you going to be remembered? Are you going to be remembered as a victim or as a victor? Are you leading as a warrior or are you leading with fear as a worrier? And are you committed to deliver results, not excuses? The world demands results, not excuses. What will you deliver? So, decisions and actions. If you remember, we're talking about resourceful states here. Then when you make decisions from a resourceful state, you are going to get better results. So you've got to make decisions. And you have to take action. Now is the time. If you get nothing else from this, get to that mindset of knowing how important your state is. Get conscious, get aware of it. If you want more information, reach out, be part of the movement, be part of this revolution to access your true power, your true genius, right? Because the decisions and the actions of the past are what brought you here today. If you want your life to change, to transform, you need to change the decisions, the mindset, the emotions that you've been making those decisions from in order to transform your life moving forward. And my mentor, good friend, is famous for saying this: it's in moments of decision that our destiny is shaped. So choose wisely. Thank you, Tony Robbins. So think about it. How much will your life transform? Will it change after mastering your emotions? Now, obviously, I can't teach all of this right now. So this is just a teaser, just giving you some high-level stuff of opportunity to transform. Because here's what we used to think, right? We used to think you just do it. Nike gave it away, and that's true. But remember, you've got to get the right counsel to make sure you're taking the right actions, right? The other one is work hard. Well, clearly, you've got to put in the effort, and you've got to work smart. There's an old saying, it's all who you know. Well, yes. And if you are showing up and trying to meet new people, but you're showing up in non-resourceful states, they're not going to want to hang out with you. So you could get yourself to that networking event. You could get yourself to the table. But if you're not showing up 100% authentic, genuine, full of confidence, certainty, and that servant leadership, divinely guided by God or whatever your next level is at your spiritual highest calling, it's not going to be sustainable. People aren't going to want to hang with you. Grin and bear it. Well, yes and no, right? Again, there's certain pains that are appropriate, and then there are other pains that aren't, and it's knowing the difference. So it used to be that success was 80% just showing up. Then we heard it was 80% mindset and 20% mechanics. Well, yeah, there's an element of truth, but the truth is really now we believe that it's 90 or 95% mindset. It is your emotional state. These three pillars, these are the answers to life. That's what Freedom Hack is all about. And right now we need you to step up. We need you to be the best version of yourself, for your spouse, for your children, for your business, for your community. Be willing to do whatever it takes, ecologically, of course, morally and ethically, but you need to be your absolute best. And last thing, before you make a decision on anything, make that decision from a powerful state. When you make decisions from love, gratitude, confidence, certainty, curiosity, creativity, you will fare so much better than if you were to make decisions from fear, anger, frustration, anxiety, depression, stress. All of those is like putting crap gas in your supercar, and you are a supercar. If you've made it this far, we are kindred spirits and you are an absolute supercar. You are super genius. You are divinely guided by God to deliver results, not excuses. And with that being said, I love you for who you are and who you aren't. I thank you for your participation at the very least. I know you were there, even if you weren't here live with me. You are here, and I look forward to serving you more in the future. God bless.